The problem with going back to school is that, especially like if in your 30s and 40s, is that you think or assume that it's above your head, like you won't be able to do as well. And, yeah, when I went back to school, it was like a shock, trying to study again and trying to get myself in that mindset. That was not easy for me, but it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. I wanted to go back to school because I wanted to be a counselor. I've been working as a life coach for over 10 years, which, by the way, if you're looking for a life coach, I specialize in everyday life, relationships. Please send me a message. I have a couple spots left. I don't have too many, but I have a couple spots if you're interested. But yeah, I wanted to get licensed to be a counselor, and it meant the world to me to do it. It was not only because of that, because I could just work as a life coach and just be okay with that, but it was like a life accomplishment for me, even though I know I'm taking on a lot of debt, which that's a whole separate discussion. But to me, it's like you can't put a price on education. Like you can't put a price on learning how to think and just learning, period. That's something that you buy a house, it could burn down, but you buy an education that stays with you. There's nothing that can take that, unless, I guess, if you lose your memory because of an accident or something, God forbid. Let me knock on wood real quick. Yes, I'm superstitious. Anyway, but yeah, I wanted to go back to school. I was determined, and I started going back to school right after COVID started, which was in 2020. God, I can't believe I forgot that. Can you believe it's been 5 years since? Anyway, but yeah, that's when I started, and I started going full-time, and I was thinking, I'm gonna go part-time. If I would have went part-time, I'd be like halfway through right now. I'm doing my classes online, and it's really not that bad. Yeah, it's a little challenging at times, but it's not that bad. I think that, the thing about going back to school later in life, if you're in your 30s or 40s, is that you have to first believe that you can do it. And you have to also believe that you have time. Because if you don't think you have time, if you feel like you ran out of time, or if you think you can't do it, then yeah, of course you're not going to get anywhere, with that mentality. So you have to do a little soul searching and see why is that you want to go back to school and why it's worth it for you. And yeah, so with that being said, I want to share with you my tips and tricks of how I succeed in college. The first of which is, I said this earlier about working smarter, not harder. Trying to find strategies and tips that help you. For example, flashcards are very helpful. And I used to think, like, in order to retain material, I needed to read the chapter, highlight everything, write everything down in my notes, and do that for all the material, and watch the lecture, and create my own test quiz or something. And if I wouldn't have time to do all that, especially working and in just my everyday life, I wouldn't have time to do all that. So what I realized is I actually do well on my quizzes and tests. I don't have to write down everything, and what I do is I watch the lecture. I watch the lecture a couple of times, and I watch it on double speed. And what I realized is I feel like I learn more if I'm listening to what the professor is saying and I'm taking it in. I retain that more than if I'm writing it down, because when I'm writing it down, it's just almost mindless. I'm just writing down the main points. At least for me, that may not work for everyone, but for me, what I realize is if I just pay attention to the material when the professor is sharing, what the material is about, I actually retain that more. And even if I watch it a couple of times, I I do so much better on my tests when I do it that way than when I do it the long way. So that's what I meant about working smarter, not harder. And sometimes I use flashcards if, like, Quizlet, for example, if I'm trying to, like, study something, and now it has an AI feature where you just can, put the lecture notes in Quizlet, and then AI will determine, like, a study guide for you. So use the tools available to you. That makes a big difference, okay? And the second thing is, some people will not benefit from this. Some people will need to go in person, but I highly recommend going full-time and going online, because you can streamline the learning and customize it more that way than if you were to go in person. Just in my opinion, I just feel like, and it's, of course, it's easy to work around your schedule. Like, if you work, and you have a life, like, you can customize that around your schedule. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do this and graduate if I went in person for my classes. Like, some of the honors classes that I'm in, because I'm in the honors college, I don't mean to, like, rub that in. It's just, I'm just bringing that up because those classes I have to go in person. But my other classes were all online. So yeah, I mean, online learning is a godsend. Using the tools, is a godsend. And sometimes, I mean, you're not supposed to use AI to write letters. And I never use AI to, like, write essays or anything like that. Or I don't cheat. Okay, I don't cheat. I don't do things like that, because, it's like, what's the point of me going to school, spending all this money, if I'm not going to know what I'm learning anyway and not use it in my professional, career. But sometimes, say for instance, if there's, like, literature and it's hard to understand and read, sometimes using AI to help you summarize and understand it, like if you're trying to read it and you ask AI to help you to understand it and break it down into layman's terms, that can be very helpful too. But be very careful with that. And if you're using AI for anything, you have to cite it, I think. I don't know, these days you have to, but you can also use AI to help you come up with the study guide. Just plug it into AI, tell it to come up with some study guide, like a study guide for you, and that helps as well. So resources and tools, and a lot of it centers around technology as well, makes a big difference. Another thing that's helped me is, like, camera died, the battery, so I had to switch out the battery. Anyway, so what I was saying was, like, with deadlines, also technology is something that's part of, it's connected to what I'm saying in terms of my tips and tricks. I have an iPhone, no hate on Android, okay? But I'm just saying, like, even if you have an Android, if you have a calendar, what I do is I put my deadlines on my calendar. So if I have a test to prepare for, I'll just put it on my calendar, and I can even set on my calendar to put an alert for, like, a day before, to notify me a day before the deadline, and a second alert for 2 hours before the deadline, just so that I don't forget it. And Canvas, many universities, many schools use Canvas. If you're in school, I'm sure you've heard of Canvas. Canvas makes this so much easier. Now, not all the professors, not all your classes will have everything in the calendar on Canvas. There's some things that, will not be on the calendar for whatever reason. And those things I put on my phone calendar, okay? So deadlines, I will put on my phone to remind me, so that way I stay on top of it, okay? So that is a big help as well. And what else? I'm trying to think here of the things that have helped me to succeed. I'm trying to think. Sometimes with discussion posts, like, you have to do a discussion post in your class, like, every week or something. Instead of, like, typing it out, sometimes what I'll do, I'll use the voice to text feature, and then I'll just go edit it so that grammatically it's proper, So I'll use speech to text sometimes. And, that's also kind of something that's centered. Technology has helped me. Without technology, I don't think I would be able to graduate from college with my undergraduate degree. I really don't. That's why I think I couldn't have done this like 10 years ago or so. So utilize the resources to help you succeed. If you're thinking of going back to school, and don't go part-time, because if you go part-time, it's going to take you forever. I mean, it's just, you know, if you're already in your 30s and 40s, you got to catch up. You know, like, don't go part-time. Just trust yourself, believe in yourself, and know that you can do it, even if it's a little tight, but you'll be glad when you get it over with. So those are my tips and tricks. And if you found value in this video, please hit the like button, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I plan to do more content about you know, everyday life, you know, someone with ADHD, someone who is in recovery, just like everyday life content. I plan to do more videos like this, for the most part, almost every day, except the weekends. Maybe the weekends too, I'm not sure, but I plan to shoot a lot of content. So so please hit the subscribe button so that hit the notification bell icon so that you know when I upload a video. But besides that, I want to thank you in advance for your support.